Namaste everyone. How's it going? Today I'm going to speak about the deepest layer of you, regardless of who you are, where you're from, or what your life is looking like right now. And I'm doing this in English because the past two times I made something like this, it was in Hindi, and everything which I had spoken about came true for people. And you can see the comments and you can see the responses of people as time has gone on, how the things which I spoke about have unfolded in front of their own eyes for their own life, as well as life overall beyond us in society and on this planet. So I'm making this video for you, and I'm making this video for you without wanting anything in return. For those who know me or have been connected with me since the 8 years that I changed what I used to do before and I came into helping people, first as a men's coach, just speaking for masculinity. And then as I have continuously spent time exploring myself at deeper layers to understand my constituency, to understand what is the architecture that makes up a human being and why does the human being go through all this pain and conflict and emotional roller coaster rides. I have been sharing that work via different mediums, and you can check my own website to see the bunch of different places where I put it out. And over 80 to 90% of it is for free. So you can get a chance at knowing which traps of life are still getting you stuck without you being able to recognize what that trap is personally for you. So let's move on. As I said, who am I making this video for? For you, actually the deepest layer of you. Last two times I spoke about this was advice for 2023 in Hindi on the original channel of mine. And then there was advice for 2024, which was on my website. For those people for whom advice for 2023 resonated, they went on to see advice for 2024, which was released last year in 2023. And the stuff which I spoke about all started happening, such as certain kinds of exposure, as well as certain kinds of things which we were going to feel within us. Now we are at the end of March 2024, and I want to speak about a very incredible time that all of us are alive at, which is now. And why I'm going to speak about this is because I am at a stage in my life where everything which began for me at the age of 14 after one incident or a couple of incidents which sparked my own self-development led me into studying subjects, everything from attraction dynamics, how social psychology works, how personal psychology works, behavioral psychology works. So everything within psychology to everything within human mating behavior, because that is in a way the crux of all of life, the mating and dating of two opposing forces, and how those two opposing forces, light and dark, zero and infinity, day and night, male and female, how this collides and gives birth to this chaos of an ecosystem that we are kind of now struggling to stay afloat in. Okay, so I began my studies with the attraction side of things, and then I got into fitness and I got into human performance optimization when it comes to your own body and the way you think and the way you behave and the way you act and the way you do things. And from there, it started going deeper into metaphysical subjects. It went deeper into mythological subjects. It went deep into religion and theology. It went deep into philosophy. It went in a bunch of different directions. And those 15 odd, 20 odd years, I don't know how many it's been, years of study of so many different fields is coming to a culmination for me personally in this life where we can see it now all around us. There is a theme of hopelessness coming within people. There is a theme of doom which is starting to linger when anyone who's a little self-aware can understand the mechanics of all the systems which are running the world, such as finance, such as infrastructure, such as technology, etc. There is a particular sense of hopelessness as well as a particular sense of complete unpredictability which is coming in life. And it is not just at it is not just at the mega level of humanity, but it is actually originating within the individual themselves. So I'm going to share my insights with you for you to come into a state of ease with yourself during this time, to come to realize what are the lessons for yourself during this time, and to have some sort of grounding or faith in the overall picture. Because right now, the overall picture does not look nice. It looks like we might be at the edge of World War III. It looks like we might be at the edge of every human resource being kicked out of their company to be replaced by AI, and many more such kind of scenarios where we have no idea that everything which we knew about up until now and everything we believed in up until now, will that still stand strong going into the future. So now, to narrow down the group of people I'm speaking to, I had spoken back in February 2022 that there are going to be two kinds of civilizations existing on earth. One which is awake and one which is asleep and enslaved and will go deeper into enslavement, and the ones who are awake will go higher into awakening via pain, most probably. Because humans are a species who, unfortunately, are most motivated by pain. The negative motivators work the best for a human being. And because otherwise our nature is, lazy. Like I've given this example before, where if you give a man free sex and free food, he will never get off the couch for the rest of his life. Unless that man or woman goes beyond, the limits of their consciousness to a level where they aspire to live with meaning in their life and aspire to live in a way where they feel connected instead of feeling disconnected, while the world is selling us higher illusions of connection. So the narrowing down of the people I'm speaking to is for all those people who, in the recent, let's take the past 3 months, all right, since 2024 has started. If when this year started in January, you had a lot of physical exhaustion and you were quite not able to work out, let's say not able to exercise, I'm going to give some very mundane, simple examples. If in these last few days of March, the second half of March, if you have had trouble sleeping, if you've had super high energy levels at night instead of being able to sleep, or if you have been waking up a lot from sleep, if you've been having some dreams, and then let's look at February, where basically if you had a lot of anger, if you had irritability which you could not control, etc. So these are the kinds of people I'm trying to speak to. And for the rest, I don't know what to do for you, simply because I would like to, but I have been doing this work since a long time, and everyone had the opportunity to step into a new world for many times. But now those windows of opportunity, I believe, are closing, where we could have done out of free will and choice, and now they're gonna come via circumstances which are out of our control, and they might not be nice. All right. So for these particular people who I'm trying to speak to, including myself, the next coming month, April, is a very, very intense month. And for those of you who know that I also got into astrology, please, I'm not speaking plain astrology here. I'm not an astrologer. I got into astrology as one more subject worth studying. And this is the culmination of my information across the field of energy, across the field of geopolitics, across the field of psychology, across the field of finance records, and in the revolutions happening in society. It's across history. It's across a lot of different things that I know about, and hence help my own private clients with all of those information, whether it's for them to set up a new business, or it's whether for them to set up their own life or to heal their life. So the next month, what we're going to see, as well as what we are already feeling inside, I want to now talk about how I want you to make use of all of this. All right. The way I want you to make use of all of this is, number one, a lot of people currently are carrying a lot of trauma. They're carrying a lot of pain, which are very heavy anchors, like a block of iron or steel, which is weighing us down. And it's been 2, 3, 4 more years for certain kinds of people that they're trying to move on with life, or they're trying to stabilize themselves. And they have not been able to do so. Now is the time where letting go of the weight, whether it is grief, whether it is guilt, whether it is pain, any negative experience of an extremely high intensity which you have been carrying for an extremely long time, the time has come which is going to allow you to let it pass. And when I say these things, it is purely out of my own internal spark. I might be completely wrong or I might not make sense to a lot of people, and that is okay. But I'm trying to speak for the sake of anyone or everyone who is alive and can feel, because unfortunately, in today's times, most people have become extremely numb to the point of having behaviors and patterns where they are numb beyond their own cognition of how many of their actions which they take in a day are actually not out of their own willful, conscious intelligence. So, letting go of pain is going to be incredibly easy now. Your heart can become much, much lighter going into the remainder of this year. Does that mean that the problem which was causing you pain, I know why it is still causing you pain is because it's not resolved, or it's because you don't have a complete understanding of it. So I'm not saying the problem is going to get solved. I'm not going to say that that problem will get over for you and that basically you will get into the next thing. I don't mean in terms of moving on that you will change that aspect of your life. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you will change the way you relate with that aspect of yourself, because it is from within yourself that the constituency and architecture which we have, the way we look at things inside and the way we look at things outside, trust me, it's like a mirror image. But most of us never understand that two-way interaction simply because we only look at the outside images, because we are only using intellect and senses. But the truth is, there are sensitivities, abilities, and organs of sense, if you want to call it, which are beyond just plain intellect and senses, such as intuition instead of intellect. All right. And your gut feeling instead of your eyes telling you, oh yeah, this looks like, okay, this is a place where I can make a profit, and your intuition is telling you this, your gut feeling is telling you this is not right. So I'm talking about the relation of you and your particular aspect with which you've been having a problem in life. And that is going to change. That doesn't mean the problem will get solved. That doesn't mean that you will have some sort of closure and it'll finish out of your life. No. All I'm saying is the heaviness which came with it all these years is going to become lighter. And why it's going to become lighter? The flip side of this realization is that we are getting a time to know ourselves at a truer level. And why we are getting to know ourselves at a truer level is because there is too much lies in the environment and the ecosystem and in our own selves right now. And the lies and the falseness and the fakeness of everything has built up to such an extent that internally there is disgust in almost any living conscious being today with the state of the world and the state of our own elements of existence, such as how impure the water has become, how impure the air has become, how impure things which we are putting in our body, such as the water and the food, have become. From there to how much you do not trust anything which you see online. You don't trust the stuff you're seeing on social media. Whoever is a position of authority, in some way you find a lot of them to be scripted or a lot of them to be acting, because once you've been consuming them for a long time, certain patterns start becoming visible to you. Because the first time you get influenced by something, you are caught by its awe, and you're caught by its wonder, and you're caught by its magnetic influential power. But over time, that power starts losing significance, especially if that power is choreographed and it is not true and it is not spontaneous. So that suspicion and that doubt is starting to come in from the people who we have taken to be our leaders to many aspects of our own life. So all I'm saying is that we are trying to We are going to be able to find a truer version of ourselves from this time going forward. And it's not necessary that that revelation will come with positivity. That revelation could be painful, or that revelation could be, holy shit, I've wasted all this time going in completely the wrong direction, and that is all right. Why that is all right is because to continue on a path which is false, just to not bear the pain of changing the path, or not to bear the pain of changing yourself, all it is doing is compounding the amount of pain which sooner or later you are gonna have to incur. There is no way around it. There is no way around faking your own life. There is no way around faking your own social media. There is no way around faking the groups you are hanging out with. There is no way around faking the job which you're doing for your livelihood. There is no way around faking to yourself that there are certain behaviors in all of our lives which are not helpful or productive for us, but we are stuck in them because that's what we have become comfortable with. There is no way around faking God, which is you and your relationship with yourself in its primary manifestation, as far as I have understood by now, after helping over 500,000 people. Okay? So, come down to the common denominator, come down to what is true at the most micro level in order to build matter or substance from there. So if you take your job, or if you take what you're trying to do in your life, or if you take your relationship, etc., boil it down to what is its ultimate truth. Is it because you depend on it? Is it because you feed off it? Is it because they feed off you and you like it in some way? Is it, what the hell is it? Bring it down to the lowest denominator of its true value in order to understand yourself at a better level. Because what is now going to happen in the world is that incredible amounts of things are going to get uncovered, which have been hidden by the powers that be for a very, very long time, such as the truth about a disease and its solution, which was sold to us, such as the truth about other living organisms in our galactic universe beyond this particular planet. And when all of this will be brought forward to us, including economic news, including the news of anything which has always been packaged in the wrapper of fear, this time, please don't be an idiot like everyone else who was asleep and just believe the news and the governments. Okay? Practice your own independent thinking, have conversations with people, and not people who want to, like people who are raw and real. And if you have noticed now in the recent past, there are more and more people who are raw and real who have started coming out in front of us. Because people became sick of their own shit, including me. And we are all still working through a lot of it. All right. But the thing is that, like 2 3 years ago, I had started saying this thing that in almost every friend circle by now, one person would have deleted Instagram from their phone. That number has increased a lot now. All right. Because internally, our spirit gets disgusted when it gets exposed to anything which is fake. And you can examine this by checking what you feel in your own body after you spend half an hour on Instagram. Do you feel intense pleasure, or do you feel intense disgust? And for those of you who are linked to my own Instagram, you know that I do the polls once in a while when I come alive over there. Rest of the time I'm away. But I'm trying to sort that out because my work happens every day, and we are trying to figure out with the team how can we keep the account running so that everyone can benefit from different portions of my work. But I personally cannot get into that consciousness anymore. It's not worth it. So those of you who saw the polls which I did saw that I spoke about what is the emotion that you feel, and over 93% or 90% I think said that they feel intense disgust. Now that intense disgust, that internal hopelessness, that feeling of disconnection with life overall, all of this is starting to add up in a way where at an individual level as well as at a collective level, we are all starting to wonder what the fuck is going on with my own life, what the fuck is going on with society. Really, what is going on? Do we have any idea of what is truth? And do we have any idea of what is love? These two things are going to be the driving force for the changes that humanity is now going to go through in the next 4 5 years, which are going to be tumultuous. Like, there are going to be changes which are going to change the map of the planet as well. And I'm not talking something mythical, I'm not talking something omnious, I'm not talking something beyond science or superstition. All right, you can check seismic activity via the particular sources on the internet, and you can check what is happening with the earth. Scientific stuff is what I'm talking about. Whether you take the heartbeat of the earth, which is called the Schumann resonance, whether you take the seismic activity, whether you take the shifting of our north and south poles, you can go beyond this into, things related to astronomy and space. Again, scientific, I didn't say astrology, astronomy and space. And you can look at the sun, and you can look at whenever there was a fuck up, both at a collective and an individual level, such as when Facebook and Instagram shut down for like a few hours, and people started losing their minds, obviously, because they're already plugged in a lot of ways. We don't need to wait for Elon Musk to come out with a chip to put in our body. You are already plugged in so many ways that you're not aware of. That when that had happened, along with your own life, if you would have analyzed your own life, simply if you're aware enough, you would have noticed that there were these kind of incidents happening in your own life, as well as there were incidents happening at the collective level. All right. So whenever you've experienced the changes in the sleep, whenever you experience the changes in the emotional state, such as February when I spoke about irritability and anger, etc., please notice outside what is happening. Around the time of anger, irritability, etc., outside, if you would have seen in so many different places in the world, there were riots and there were uprisings from the public, all right, against authoritative forces. But anyway, what I was talking about, bringing you to astronomy, was look at the sun and look at the kind of explosions it has been sending out into space towards us. So we are all connected, and we are connected with everything. Today, the solution which most people I have seen have taken is that I'm just going to care about myself, fuck everything else. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I've seen so many people, after going through their own darkness, their own dark night of the soul, their own awakening was beginning, but they got scared and they resigned and they went like, this is how the world is and I need to operate here. So what I'm going to do is I'll become like the world. And the longer you continue that facade, the deeper the level at which you start getting disgusted with yourself. And that is why it does not work to only think about yourself, because you need to understand that if you will only think about yourself, everything that will come across you is also only going to be thinking about yourself. So even if you make progress, the way you will measure progress, if you're only thinking about yourself, is most probably going to be in external reality. It's going to be via the money which you're making, via your success, via your personal health, etc., which is great. But almost every element that you will come across will be of that nature, which means you will struggle to have real connection, real friendships, real love, real peace, real contentment, etc. in life. But I can understand why so many people take that approach of resignation, and that I'm going to be like this because everything else is like this. It doesn't work. If you've been brought to the level where you can see how everything else is, it is because that is the first step to the same ability of seeing how everything about you is. And then if you can, because if you are seeing the fakeness outside, you got to see the fakeness within yourself. The moment you see both of them, you literally jump by a quantum leap in terms of your own being and the way that you are, and it will change. And it will change in a way where both what you start seeing in the external, what you start feeling in the internal, and then this ego identity with which you navigate the world, what it starts coming across will be more people like that. So many people have, when they write to me, all right, I get these super long emails, super long messages on Instagram, etc., and I try to respond to all of them, as you guys know, ever since I came online. So many of you have started waking up, and it is fantastic because literally time is starting to speed up. All right, that's another thing you can analyze for yourself, that in the past few years has time started feeling faster. And let's since we're talking about the last few years, Have things really become better after 2020? Or do you feel a different level of hollowness inside, even though the same social media is running now, which was running before 2020 and after 2020? But do you not feel more robbed and depleted at a spirit level since everything opened up again? Unfortunately, many people have not realized this because as soon as things opened up, they ran back into consumption and stimulation. They never realized the window of opportunity that 2020 was for all of us to listen to our deepest selves, where it was crying for truth, meaning, and alignment. So after 2020, the world doesn't feel the same at all. It actually feels worse. We were waiting for everything to open up for better times, but if you will analyze your internal state, you can see a mass depression in society without needing to speak to people. You can see people coping. You can see anxiety in the air. You can see a smile on a person's face, but you cannot see the emotion behind it. All right. So when all of this is happening, we are like, what I'm observing in society is so many people are so internally scared to voice it out or to sit down and speak with someone. I'm telling you, if whether your workplace, whether the place where you go to socialize or exercise or whatever, if you will sit down with even one person over there to have a conversation like how I'm having right now, which all it needs is for you to open yourself up, you will see how much of what you're feeling they are feeling as well at the deepest level. That is why I said this video I'm trying to make for everyone's deepest layer and level. Many people are still stuck at just the ego level of what my identity is going to be in the outside world. How am I going to be popular? How am I going to be wanted? How am I going to be rich? How am I going to be successful, etc., without questioning where are all of those wants coming from. And as I said, this is for everyone. This is true for me also in my own ways. This is true for everyone. Everyone. So going forward, I want you to know, number one, this is the time to make your heart much lighter. It is going to assist you in doing that. And all of us, the second thing, are being upgraded at a level which we cannot really understand or comprehend because it has been asleep for a very long time. So another field, like so many of you know about the matrix, right? Or about the systems and the hierarchies and the power structures, etc. So if you go deep into that field of study and you come across a bunch of different materials such as Seth, Ra, etc. Right now there's a time where, since number one, our heart is allowing to drop the anchors which are causing us a lot of pain, so that whether we want to solve that situation or whether we want to move on, both the things are going to become easier for us because the weightage is reducing. The second thing is all of us are going to get upgraded. So another thing I asked recently was how many people have been hearing the ringing in the ears and how many people have been going through the sleep disturbances, either too energetic, cannot sleep, or have been having the dreams, especially if you've been waking up around 3 or 4 a.m., etc. We are being upgraded right now at such a deep level that we are not aware of how it is affecting us. And I, like, again, instead of getting too deep into any one of these theories, what I'll do is examine for yourself food, the kind of food you used to like and eat, and the number of times you would eat in the day, and the overall quantity of food that you eat. Has that started changing? That's number one. Number two, have you started, without consciously maybe doing so, changing a lot of behaviors which you were earlier used to? Such as, let's say you lived in a apartment complex where in the evening every day you would meet the same set of group of friends and you would chill and socialize with them. Has that started changing? Has there been something within you which is now automatically not responding to their text or automatically not going as often? Because maybe you're finding that there's nothing there which is for you. And have you started finding some more peace or some more happiness or some more ease while being alone? Okay. So there are changes happening at such a deep level where all of us are getting upgraded to be able to handle where Earth overall is going next. And where Earth overall is going next is both a nice and a bad place based on where your attention is. Bad, why? Because to go there, there is a lot of resistance from a lot of forces which are going to create a fucking mess on this planet. But in the long run, it is for the good, because the way humanity has been running, we cannot continue to do so. So we are being sold an illusion that we are technically more developed now, we are more modern, we have more money in the world. Bull fucking shit. The money is worth much lesser than what it used to be worth in the same numbers during our parents' times. We think we are more modern and developed, but if we look at the cities where we think modern area means a city instead of the rural areas or villages, the quality of life is shit. People making a very big salary also are almost broke by the end of the month. To get from your own place to your own workplace, it is taking minimum one hour, because the infrastructure is overloaded, because we were sold the dream of development and modernization, while it was actually an operation to build more slaves and to build more psyches to willingly live in submission. And we are seeing that. That is why phenomena like quiet quitting has started happening, where so many people are in jobs, but they're actually not trying to do anything over there and trying to use their time for something else. All right. So a lot is happening on this planet right now. A few things which I laid out were the weightage getting lighter, second, us getting upgraded, third, don't fucking believe anything anymore. And this is not to scare you, and this is not to go like, okay, then what, how do we operate? Yeah, get aware of that why did you need a belief system to operate up until now? Why do you need a belief system? That I must have a college degree, I must have a job, I must have a this. Why do you need a belief system of any kind? Such as, do you realize that all of us as humans operate on a daily basis with trust, which we are not aware of? Right now I'm sitting and I'm on a particular floor and I trust that it's not going to fall. When we walk out on the earth, we trust that lightning is not going to fall on us. That is why we walk. That is why we do anything without conscious awareness that there is an element of trust. All right, when you're trying to do your job and you're earning and what you're trying to earn, money, you have trust in that money. All right. When you are going to meet your friends, you meet your friends because basically you know they are not predators and they are not going to attack you. So there is a trust. Whereas in the friend circles, there is still backbiting, gossiping, bitching, and sly ways to taunt each other always happening. There is a force of invisible trust that we have all played with for a very long time, and now when it comes to the male female aspects, women have played with it at another level when it comes to men. And anything which we use as a medium or as a force has a conscious entity of itself. I've spoken about Instagram. I believe it's a living thing. I believe it's a consciousness because it affects people and their behavioral patterns. All right. So the same way, more subtle things such as trust, which is there continuously in every domain. Right now I'm speaking because I'm feeling safe to speak. I'm feeling safe because I trust myself. That's why I'm safe to voice out whatever the fuck is coming out from within me without a script, without even knowing what I wanted to talk about. I just knew I needed to speak about this. And it's taking its own road. All right. So trust is the force which we abused a lot, me included. And it depends from person to person in which context we abused it. It depends on macro factors, micro factors, etc. But the thing is that, as I said, things where a lot of consciousness is directed, such as I've spoken about in my writings on Telegram, that attention is the source for new age capitalism. It's not money, land, labor, capital, technology. No, it's dhyan. It's where the attention of conscious living beings is. That is what is being harvested right now. And that is the resource for capitalism now. All right. There's nothing wrong with capitalism, but we need to have some idea of ethics and morals and how to deal with beings who can feel pain. All right. So when we place a lot of our own attention, whether willingly, unwillingly, consciously or unconsciously, on things such as I spoke about trust, You go to eat at a restaurant, you have a blind trust that the food is not poison and it's not going to kill you. All right. So everywhere there is blind trust, which most of the times we are not aware of. Now that trust has been played with for very long and in very evil ways. All right. Now, trust as a force will take some revenge in order to correct this out. And the only way it can take revenge is by hurting whoever took advantage of it or was asleep about it. And why that is happening is so that the real forces of life which help us live and connect, such as trust, for example, you cannot abuse them. Whether you're a government, whether you're a economic power, whether you're a human being, whether you're an influencer, whether you're I don't know, business entrepreneur, whether you're a job person, you cannot be abusing the force which is the fundamental backbone of creation and reality. Like even when a tree grows, it grows with trust. Now imagine it's not a moving object technically, but it is growing with trust that somebody is not going to come and cut it, and that there is not going to, something is not going to fall from the sky and crush it. It's growing with trust. So this is a fundamental force behind the primary force of creation itself. All right. So because creation is completely randomized, right? It's disorderly. If you look outside and there's a bunch of trees, they're all different. They're all growing at different heights, spaces, etc. But there is a beauty to naturalness. There is a beauty to organicness. And that beauty makes itself visible via its anomalies, via its commonalities, via its forces such as trust, etc. Now the thing is, we cannot play around with it. So that is why now you're gonna have a major portion of society going through psychosis of different kinds. And you're gonna have a lot of deaths which have started happening. They are not being reported, obviously, but they've started happening. So a lot of truth is now going to come out regarding society, regarding the things which humanity has been lied to about. A lot of the truth about things beyond this planet are going to come out. And you have to be very discerning of where do you put your trust. All right. This doesn't mean that you be scared. This doesn't mean that you stop relying on yourself, because if you are needing to trust things outside in order to rely on yourself, that's a fundamental mistake. And this is the lesson. Self-sufficiency is the lesson right now for all of us. Because the way the macro forces act out, how they impact the micro, such as individuals like you and me, is that we look for safety in our own life, but we use the mechanics which the macro players are using. So we get into a relationship to take more than we give. We get into a job to do the least amount of work to get the most amount of money. This kind of arbitrage, which is abusing the force of trust, doesn't work out as a sustainable option in the long run. So we are all being called upon to wake up to how we are treating ourselves, and then to treat everyone else and everything else in the same way. Which I know it's difficult, because if you go out into society, it's a muck of a place. I understand that. I understand how wrong so many things are. But we are now, for fortunate or unfortunate reasons, everyone who's alive right now is alive at this cusp of humanity where everything is going to be different in a few years from now. The way money worked, the way society worked, the way democracies worked, they are obviously not working. We can see that anywhere and everywhere. All right. So in certain aspects, there are going to be a return of things from the past which were good but were eradicated. And in a lot of ways, certain new things are going to come because the old systems are not working for us. And when I spoke about the male, female, masculine, feminine thing, where I spoke about women especially have, abused the forces of trust a lot in the recent past. I'm not saying that out of my own personal this thing. I'm saying because my work primarily deals with the masculine and feminine forces in a lot of ways. And unfortunately, what we saw is that majorly it was men who were in pain over the past 10, 20, 30 years. and primary cause of that pain was women. And the primary reason how women caused that pain was because they were misled and they were made to believe certain things about themselves which are not true based on nature. They are true based only on agendas and marketing schemes and political, socio-political or geopolitical movements. But now, since we have started seeing a breakdown of even the last remaining unit of family, which was the nuclear family, we've started seeing a breakdown of the individual within themselves, and we started seeing a breakdown of complete lack of trust in everything such as marriage, relationships, jobs, money, everything. We are being called upon to realign with how nature originally intended us to be, which was true and natural. All right. So we are being called upon to do that, and a lot of prices will be paid in order to do this. So there will be loss of life, there will be more pain after 2024. I spoke about this, I don't remember when or where, but I spoke a few months ago on how I think starting from 2024 it is going to be the feminine which is going to be more in pain than the masculine. Because if you will look at pop culture, and if you will look at the titstar culture, like titstagram culture, you will see that basically men have been waking up for a long time. But the problem again with waking up is that they're waking up from either places of rejection or places of no self-worth or places of avoidance or pain, etc. So when they wake up, they're waking up with the shadow aspect. When they're waking up with the shadow aspect, now they're becoming bad themselves. But the point remains that that journey for men already began, because they went through a lot of pain for a long time, and now the masculine is starting to rise. But it needs to be the righteous masculine, it needs to be the masculine which is self-contained, and it needs to be the masculine which is not against the feminine but has a open hearted willingness to embrace the feminine, but at a feminine who is also matured and self-aware. Because unfortunately what we are seeing in society is that majority of the feminine is not self-aware to any level. And how now they have started to figure this out or discover this for themselves in life is that the life decisions which they took 10 years ago, 15 years ago, etc., now they're at places where they're completely hollow, and the illusions which they believed in have not come out to actually substantiate their life and their claims on life, that I am an empowered woman, so I'm going to be a bitch. It doesn't work that way. So majorly now the feminine is going to be in pain, but I would want the masculine to be kind in handling this situation, because the feminine made that mistake and it showed us. All right. So now when again there is an imbalance with one of the forces, one of the polarities, I really hope that all of us first of all recognize these two forces within ourselves. So for example, a lot of you who have been connected with me since a very long time have seen me change a lot. All right. And a major aspect of that change in the recent years has been because there's been a major emergence and awakening of the feminine force within me. So I always used to write, but I never used to write poetry. All right. And I started writing poetry since a couple of years on its own, and you can read it on Telegram. All right. And we are bringing a blog also, I think, to my site too, where people who want to get deep into my work or understanding who the fuck am I in order to understand themselves, they can come to one place without any distraction or disturbance and just read everything from one place. So we are trying to bring a blog onto my own website, which is sirhud.com. So the lunar aspect of my life, like the feminine aspect of my life, woke up after certain events happened between me and the feminine in a lot of ways. And it's amazing the way it's woken up is that it feels really superhuman to be awake on both ends of duality. All right. Normally we are always operating on one side because it is easier to maintain. It is easier to live with yourself if just you know yourself as to this is who I am, XYZ. I wake up as XYZ. I go to sleep as XYZ. I operate as XYZ. This is why XYZ is good and this is why XYZ is bad. But that is a pattern and a groove that we are used to, such as if you use a vehicle only in one gear throughout life. But the moment the other side starts getting unlocked, the moment you start reconciling with the aspects of yourself which you thought were evil, or which you did not even know existed. It is a nuclear fucking fusion explosion, all right? And my longest clients, like the clients with whom I've been working the longest, they're going through this now. And it's insane. You can check the recordings on the Freeman University, especially the life-changing conversations category, where basically when all of this has started happening, where all of a sudden the other aspects of your existence and reality are starting to wake up, and that is what will happen for majority of human beings now going forward. um, you come to a place where the way you knew yourself, you don't know yourself like that anymore, which is great, because the way you knew yourself wasn't really working, right? Like, everybody wants to live a logical and planned and calculated life because we are trying to keep safety with us. Let me ask you, how many times the plans which you made in your life have actually worked out to the T? They don't. Because the plans which we are making are purely from the ego, which has very limited understanding or awareness or true intelligence. But plans which we make based on universal principles or universal truths have a power of survival which is beyond things like recession, breakups, etc. All right. So I get it that I'm speaking about a lot of different things by just touching on them, but hopefully in your mindscape, you're able to connect the dots. And if any of you wants to speak deeper about any of these aspects, whether on a podcast, whether on a personal coaching session, you're most welcome to shoot out, a contact form to me via the email or something. My own site is there. And I'm more than happy to do this. We just did a webinar, which was supposed to be 60 to 90 minutes, but it went on for 4 hours. All right. Worth what, $3 or $4 was the cost, but it was around consciousness or chetana, as we say in our language. But then going forward, I'm going to do webinars based on masculine and feminine understanding. I'm going to do webinars based on a lot of hidden truths. I'm going to do webinars based on future events. I'm going to do webinars based on how we are supposed to embrace this particular time of self-realization, self-reflection, and how all of the self will manifest into the external world outside. The problem with me and my work is that the country I began in, that country is very behind when it comes to the average mean consciousness which is running through people. If I was doing this work outside, we would have been able to impact a lot of people by now, way beyond the numbers which we already have. But it's okay, because my own recent realizations helped me realize a lot of why destiny is the way it is with you. All right. And when to not actually exercise your free will. That is incredibly important, because the illusion sold to us is of empowerment in a way where we can manifest our life. Bullshit. All you can do is take out the 20 minutes in the morning to sit down and do your manifestation ritual or visualization. But how much of the rest of the day is going to be based on your ideal way of life? It's the balance is totally in destiny's hands in most of the times. All right. But the key is understanding which places to not use your free will at, as far as I've understood up until now in my own journey. Of course, I could be wrong about everything which I'm speaking about, but it is based on you to figure out how much of it resonates with you. Not here, that is this guy making sense or is he not making sense? How much of what you feel about what I'm saying, which side is it on? Am I making sense to you? Am I not making sense to you? Because the way these topics or these conversations will make sense will be based on feelings and not based on information or intellect or calculation or logic or understanding. So anyway, this was a lot to talk about, but I did this because I haven't done this in English. I've done this only for the Hindi community of mine. And I'm happy that so many of you came and enrolled for Advice to 2024, and then have been sending me messages ever since influencers got exposed or politicians got exposed or disasters happened. So I thank you that you're actually starting to open your eyes and you're able to start putting a lot of things together from the outside environment. But I needed to do this in English because, to be honest, I primarily feel comfortable here. Only the way my own journey has been, I've become very disconnected from the platforms which were supposed to get people like us a voice who did not have an agenda but had pure creativity. but then everything changed. So anyway, if you want to connect in places where I can speak more truth, you are most welcome to come and check them out. Most of it is, as I said, free, unless you come for a direct interaction or something. And I really hope that you make use of this time going forward. All right, that's all I hope for, and I hope that you are easy with yourself. I hope that you don't put pressure on yourself, and I hope that as time goes on, you realize who you are instead of trying extremely hard to win or achieve in metrics or figures or goals which will not stand true over the course of time, because unfortunately most of the things which we collect and achieve and try to win in life, they come with an expiry date as well as with the law of diminishing returns. So my hope is that you start cultivating an understanding of wisdom, not just information and knowledge from the internet, but wisdom which compounds over time, stays with you, keeps you afloat in your darkness and in your light, and keeps your state the same without changing you a lot. That's all I wish for. Thank you.